Have you ever noticed how just changing a word or two can completely change how something comes across?
Like saying thanks versus, I appreciate that. There's a real difference there.
Totally. And today we're going to dive deep into a specific example of this.
Oh, cool. What is it?
Well, we've got some really interesting notes from a high school debate club.
High school debate, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, sounds kind of niche,
Mm.
but it's actually a perfect example of how small changes in the way you ask a question can have a huge impact.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so these students needed extra funding for an inter-school competition, right?
Makes sense. High school clubs are always fundraising for something.
Exactly. But their teacher, Mrs. Bennett, she decided to do things a little differently.
Oh, how so?
Instead of just having them make their pitch, she split the club into 3 teams.
Okay, so a little friendly competition. I like it.
Yeah, exactly. But the twist was, each team could only use one specific phrase when asking Principal Thompson for the money.
Whoa, what kind of phrases?
It was, can I, could I, or may I?
I see where this is going. They all sound polite, but may I sounds way more formal, right?
Exactly. And that's what makes this so fascinating. We're going to see how those tiny differences in wording affect how polite they sound, how seriously the principal takes them, and whether they actually get the funding.
So it's like a real-life experiment in the power of language.
Exactly. So we've got Team 1 going for the casual can I, led by this guy, Jake.
Can I definitely feels more informal, almost like you're talking to a friend.
Then we've got Team 2 trying to be a bit more polished with could I, and Priya's leading them.
Could I seems a little softer, more considerate, like you're acknowledging you're asking for something.
And finally, Team 3 is all about formal language with may I, led by Emma.
May I feels super respectful. It shows you understand there's a hierarchy, like you're asking for permission, not just assuming you'll get it.
So our mission today is to figure out which approach worked best with Principal Thompson. And more importantly, what can we all learn from this about how to communicate more effectively in our own lives?
Because, let's be honest, we all have to ask for things sometimes.
Whether it's a raise, a favor, or just getting someone to listen to us.
Right. So let's start with Team 1 and their can I strategy. What happened with them?
Well, they went into Principal Thompson's office, and right away Jake starts off with, can I just say thanks for meeting with us today?
I can already see where this might go wrong.
Yeah, like it sounds polite enough at first, but
when you're asking for a bunch of money, maybe a simple thank you would be more appropriate.
right. And they kept going with this can I thing throughout their whole pitch. Like, can I explain why we need this money? Can I be totally honest with you? Can I promise you this will be a worthwhile investment?
Oh, so they were really hammering that can. I wonder if they even noticed they were doing it.
I don't think so. But Principal Thompson definitely did.
I bet he did.
Yeah, he stopped Jake mid-sentence and basically said, hold on. Are you asking if you're capable of explaining or promising, or are you actually asking for my permission to get this funding?
Whoa, that's a really important distinction.
Right, can I is more about what you're able to do. Like, can I lift this heavy box? It's not really about asking for permission.
And when you're talking to the principal about something important, you definitely want to be respectful and ask for permission, not just talk about what you can do.
And yeah, Principal Thompson basically felt like they weren't taking it seriously enough.
I can see why he'd feel that way. They weren't really acknowledging his authority to decide.
So Team 1, they learned a tough lesson that day.
Yeah, can I is fine for casual conversations, but when you need to make a formal request, you gotta step it up a bit.
So let's move on to Team 2 and their could I strategy.
So they're aiming for that sweet spot. Right. Polite, but still clear.
Exactly. Priya's team went in with a much more measured approach. They started with, could I start by expressing our gratitude for your time?
That's already a big improvement, much more respectful.
Yeah, and they kept it up. Could I walk you through our proposal? Could I highlight the specific ways this funding will benefit everyone?
It definitely sounds more considerate, less like they're demanding something.
And Principal Thompson noticed that. He said their use of could definitely made them sound more polite.
So they were on the right track.
Kind of. But Principal Thompson also pointed out that could I still focuses on possibility, not permission.
Right. Like, could I do this doesn't necessarily mean, please allow me to do this.
Exactly. And in this situation, Principal Thompson wanted them to be really clear that they were asking for his approval.
So they were being polite, but not quite hitting that level of formal respect that was needed.
And that's a really important nuance to understand. Could I is good for semi-formal situations, like asking a colleague for help.
But when you're making a big request to someone in charge, you need something stronger.
So Team 2, they got closer, but still didn't quite nail it. They showed that politeness is important, but so is formality, especially when you're asking for something big.
Which brings us to Team 3 and their may I approach. They were all about that formal language.
Yeah, and they really went all in on it. Emma walked in and said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson. May I respectfully present our case for additional funding?"
Right off the bat, it's a whole different vibe. Very professional, very respectful.
And you could tell Principal Thompson felt it too. He apparently sat up a little straighter and was visibly more engaged.
The power of may I.
They kept it up throughout their pitch. May I emphasize the educational value of this competition? May I highlight how this will benefit future students? May I assure you the money will be used responsibly?
They were really driving home that they understood he was the one making the decision.
Exactly. They weren't just presenting information, they were actively asking for his permission every step of the way.
And guess what?
Funding approved.
Knew it.
Principal Thompson was super impressed, not just with their ideas, but with how respectfully they presented them. He said their use of may I showed they understood the situation and respected his authority.
It's amazing how powerful those two little words can be.
So let's do a quick recap of what we learned from each team.
Sounds good.
Team 1, with their casual can I, they learned that being direct isn't always the best approach.
Especially when you're dealing with someone in a position of authority.
Team 2 showed that could I is good for being polite, but it might not be formal enough for big requests.
It's that balance of politeness and formality that really matters.
And Team 3, they nailed it with may I. They demonstrated respect, seriousness, and a clear understanding of how to make a formal request.
And they got the funding. Proof that using the right language can make all the difference.
And you know what's interesting? Our notes from Chapter 5 of this whole saga really highlighted the debate club's takeaways from all of this. They basically said, can I is for informal stuff, could I is for semi-formal situations, and may I is your go-to for formal requests.
And that's a really good rule of thumb for everyone, not just high school debaters.
Totally. Because language is about so much more than just grammar rules. It's about connecting with people, persuading them, and making sure you're both on the same page.
Like Mrs. Bennett said, language is a tool. And the more skilled you are with it, the more successful you'll be.
And our star student, Emma, she realized that even tiny changes in how you phrase things can make a huge difference. So we should all be thinking about how our words come across to others. Are we being respectful? Are we being clear about our intentions? Are we using the right level of formality for this situation?
And it's not just about big presentations or asking your boss for a raise. It's about everyday interactions, too.
Totally. Like, think about the difference between, can I see that report, and may I please see that report? It's subtle, but it can make a big difference in how people perceive you.
And sometimes those subtle differences can be the difference between getting what you want and not.
Absolutely. Ms. Bennett, she wrapped things up beautifully. She said, words are your greatest tools. Use them wisely, and you'll go far.
So true. And that's something for all of us to remember. Mastering polite and appropriate language, it's not just about good manners. It's a skill that can help us succeed in all areas of our lives.
So next time you need to ask for something, take a moment to think about how you're going to phrase it. You might be surprised at the difference it makes.
You might even get what you want.
And that's the power of language.
Until next time.
See you then.